Westerlands. The Westerlands, also known simply as the West, is one of the constituent regions of the Seven Kingdoms. It was formerly a sovereign realm known as the Kingdom of the Rock before the Targaryen conquest. The Westerlands are ruled from the castle of Casterly Rock by House Lannister. It is one of the smaller regions of the Seven Kingdoms geographically but has one of the larger populations. It is also immensely rich in natural resources, particularly metals. Predominantly mountainous, the hills of the Westerlands are riddled with veins of gold and silver, the mining of which has made the Lannisters and their bannermen immensely rich. The abundance of iron also allows them to easily forge weapons and military equipment. While the Lannister armies are not as huge as those of the Reach, they are the best equipped in the realm with heavily armored soldiers and cavalry. Bastards born in the Westerlands are given the surname Hill. People of the Westerlands are collectively known as Westermen and are referred to, colloquially, as Lions, in reference to the sigil of House Lannister. Colloquially, Westermen are also referred to as Lannisters. Once the seat of the Lannisters' power, Casterly Rock has for the first time in its history fallen to a foe. Utilizing a secret passageway constructed by Tyrion Lannister, the unsullied armies of Daenerys Targaryen infiltrated and captured the castle. Though the Lannisters had deliberately left the rock underdefended so as to focus their attention on capturing the Tyrell stronghold of Highgarden and were intending to take it back later, their armies were in turn smashed by Daenerys at the Battle of the Gold Road, thus leaving the Unsullied in control of the castle. Despite Casterly Rock being captured by the Unsullied, the Westerlands still remained under complete Lannister control, as Jaime was seen discussing troop and supply movements in the Westerlands with his generals. The Lannister forces in King's Landing were destroyed during the Battle of King's Landing, with the lordship passing on to Tyrion after the death of Cersei. Geography. The Westerlands border the Riverlands to the east and the Reach to the south. The Gold Road links Lannisport on Westeros's west coast with the capital city of King's Landing on the east coast, passing through the Reach, skirting south of the Riverlands. The Sea Road, hugging the coast, links Lannisport with the capital of the Reach at Highgarden as well as the major city of Oldtown further south. Predominantly mountainous, the Westerlands are well defended from external attack. There is only one major pass through the mountains in the east of the Westerlands, near the headwaters of the Red Fork of the Trident River. Thus there is only one narrow and predictable path that armies moving between the Westerlands and Riverlands can normally take, and it is guarded by the castle of Golden Tooth. The Westerlands border on the waters of Ironman's Bay to the north, and thus are under threat of Ironborn attacks along the coasts. House Lannister commonly keeps a large fleet of warships to defend against these attacks, thus the Greyjoy Rebellion began with a sneak attack which burned the Lannister fleet at anchor. Apart from its mountainous terrain, the Westerlands are also somewhat better defended from Ironborn attacks because they possesses few major rivers which empty into the west coast. This is in contrast with the Reach, which while further south from the Iron Islands, possesses major rivers such as the Mander which are navigable for a long distance inland. The headwaters of the Red Fork of the Trident River originate in the Westerlands' eastern border but do not run through much of it before passing into the Riverlands to the east. The only major river in the Westerlands is in the north, where the Tumblestone River flows east. Ultimately, the Tumblestone passes into the Riverlands where it joins the Red Fork coming up from the south at Riverrun. Settlements. House Lannister, Casterly Rock, the ancestral seat of House Lannister, the ruling house of the Westerlands. House Marbrand Ashmark, the seat of House Marbrand. The Crag, the seat of House Westerling. House Lefford the Golden Tooth, the seat of House Lefford, which guards the main pass from the Westerlands into the Riverlands. Lannisport, the principal city and port of the Westerlands, located in the shadow of Casterly Rock. Seat of a cadet branch of House Lannister. House Clegane Clegane's Keep, the seat of House Clegane. House Craighall, the seat of House Craighall. House Swift Cornfield, the seat of House Swift. Bane Fort, a holdfast on northern shore of the Westerlands, where Ironman's Bay meets the Sunset Sea. Deep Den, a holdfast just off the Gold Road. Silverhill, the seat of House Serret, a holdfast in the south of the region. Hornvale, a holdfast in the center of the region. Sarsfield, the seat of House Sarsfield, a holdfast northeast of Casterly Rock, along the River Road. Feastfires, a holdfast on the peninsula west of Casterly Rock. Faircastle, a holdfast on Fair Isle. Oxcross, a small settlement east of Lannisport. House Rain Castamere, the ruined seat of House Rain, razed during their rebellion. House Tarbeck Hall, the ruined seat of House Tarbeck, razed after they joined the Rains in their rebellion. Roads. The Sea Road. The Gold Road. Coastal areas. Coastal areas: Ironman's Bay, Islands, Fair Isle, Lakes and rivers, Tumblestone, Yellow Fork. Military strength: the Westerlands men-at-arms seem to be the only soldiers, along with the Vale and Reach men-at-arms, that value the usage of plate armor most. Their arms and torso are covered by crimson ornamented plate, while their heads are protected by helmets with collapsible visors, cheek guards and golden crests. Some other low-ranking soldiers have their torso armed with only red robes and leather cuirasses. The Westerlands are among the most powerful regions in Westeros. They can raise significant military forces, less than the Reach but more than the North, the Vale, the Riverlands, and the Stormlands. At the beginning of the War of the Five Kings, Tywin Lannister easily raises approximately 60,000 men of the Westerlands in a relatively short period of time. It is not mentioned how many of those troops belong to House Lannister. However, the battles against the armies of Robb Stark, Stannis Baratheon, and later Daenerys Targaryen, have greatly decreased the Westerlands' troops. Half of them were destroyed in the Battle of the Whispering Wood alone. By Season 7, House Lannister was left with about 10,000 soldiers, and those troops have essentially been wiped out in the Battle of the Gold Road and the Battle of King's Landing. People and economy: the Westerlands are not the largest, most populous, or most fertile part of the realm, but they are the richest. Full of hills and crags, the land is dotted with mines from which pour gold and silver in astonishing quantities. There are gold mines at Casterly Rock, the Golden Tooth, Castamere, Nuns Deep, and the Pendrick Hills. Besides farming, there is also some fishery in Lannisport and on Fair Isle. Before the Undulls, little is known of the time before the coming of the first men. Like the rest of Westeros, the children of the forest and giants lived in the Westerlands and fought with the first men when they came. After the pact at the Isle of Faces, the children only kept the forests. The hills of the west were once inhabited by lions, but they are believed to all have been slain. First men lords, some of whom were petty kings, included the Baneforts, Brooms, Crakehalls, Farmans, Foots, Greenfields, Hawthorns, Moorlands, Plums, Rains, Westerlings, and Yews. The coastal first men were often raided by the Ironborn from the Iron Islands. During the Age of Heroes, the legendary hero and trickster Lon the Clever acquired Casterly Rock in some manner from House Casterly. According to legend, he is the ancestor of the Lannisters, who became the kings of the Rock with Casterly Rock as their seat. Westermen believe that Lon made off with some of the inheritance of Garth Greenhand by posing as one of his sons. Kingdom of the Rock: the Lannister kings of the Rock gradually conquered or acquired neighboring territory, including the lands of the Rains and the Baneforts. They initially resisted the coming of the Undulls, but later Lannister kings allowed the Undulls to marry into the Westerman nobility. New houses formed by the intermarriages included houses Brax, Drox, Jast, Kindle, Lefford, Marbrand, Parran, Sarsfield, and Serret. In contrast to most kings of first men origin, the support of the Undulls allowed the kings of the Rock to expand their power. When King Gerald III Lannister died without male issue, a council crowned his daughter's husband, Ser Joffrey Lyddon, who became the first Undul king of the Rock, Joffrey Lannister. With Undul support, the Lannisters extended their rule to the Golden Tooth and Fair Isle and engaged in border wars with the kings of the Trident and kings of the Reach. The growing strength of House Lannister allowed them to expel the Ironborn from the western coasts, and King Gerald the Great raided the Iron Isles and brought hostages back to the Rock. Some of the eastern hills of what is now the Westerlands were historically ruled by kings of the rivers and the hills, such as the Mudds and the Teagues. Lord Torrance Teague used his spoils after raiding the west in his successful campaign to become River King. Ser Eustace Osprey mentioned that a famous relative of his defeated an attack by the Kingdom of the Rock by killing a Lannister king, Lancel V. Targaryen era. Loren I Lannister, King of the Rock, mustered his armies to fight Aegon Targaryen, Lord of Dragonstone, during Aegon's conquest. Allied with Mern IX Gardner, King of the Reach, they assembled the enormous host of the two kings. However, they were no match for Targaryen dragons. King Loren escaped the so-called Field of Fire and submitted to Aegon. His primacy in the Westerlands as Warden of the West was confirmed by the Targaryens. Since this time, the Westerlands have been part of the Seven Kingdoms controlled by the Iron Throne. During the Faith Militant Uprising, Prince Aegon Targaryen and Princess Rhaena were besieged by the Poor Fellows at Crakehall. Lord Lyman Lannister later gave sanctuary and lent Aegon limited support when he challenged his uncle, King Maegor I Targaryen. Several houses from the Westerlands fought for Aegon at the Battle Beneath the God's Eye, including houses Farman, Tarbeck, Parran, and Westerling. When Prince Jaehaerys Targaryen announced his claim to the throne in 48 AC, Lord Lyman was one of the great lords who supported him. During the Dance of the Dragons, the Westerlands under Lord Jason Lannister declared for Aegon II Targaryen. Jason led his armies into the Riverlands, where they fought several battles against the Blacks until the host was obliterated during the battle by the lakeshore. Meanwhile, the undefended Westerlands were attacked by Lord Dalton Greyjoy, the Red Kraken, who declared for Queen Rhaenyra. Dalton subsequently sacked Lannisport and took Case and Fair Isle. After the conclusion of the dance, the Regency Council of Aegon III ordered Dalton to cease the raiding of the Westerlands, but the order was ignored. The regents sent a fleet under the command of Lord Alan Valerion to deal with this rebellion, but Dalton was slain by one of his salt wives before a battle could be joined. The Ironborn were subsequently driven out from the Westerlands, and Lady Johanna Lannister led a campaign into the Iron Islands in retaliation. During the First Blackfyre Rebellion, many battles were fought in the west. House Tarbeck kept a foot in both camps, trying to support Daeron II Targaryen and his rival, Daemon I Blackfyre. Ser Quentin Ball killed Lord Lefford and forced Lord Daemon Lannister into retreat. During the Great Spring Sickness, the coast of the Westerlands suffered under the attacks Dagon Greyjoy, the last Reaver. Rain Tarbeck Revolt. During the rule of Lord Tytos Lannister, the power of House Lannister was nominal. Tytos was held in low esteem and was largely ignored by his vassals. Lord Roger Rayne took command of the Lannister army after Ser Jason Lannister was killed in the War of the Ninepenny Kings. Houses Rayne and Tarbeck eventually rebelled against the rule of Tytos, but his son, Ser Tywin, led the campaign against the Rayne-Tarbeck revolt. The two families were extinguished and their respective seats of Castamere and Tarbeck Hall were destroyed. Since this time no house has dared oppose House Lannister in the Westerlands. The prestigious Tywin served for a time as Hand of the King for King Aerys II Targaryen. Robert's Rebellion. Lyanna Stark, who was betrothed to Lord Robert Baratheon, was apparently abducted by Prince Rhaegar Targaryen. After the executions of her father, Lord Rickard Stark, and brother, Brandon, by King Aerys II, Robert's rebellion broke out against House Targaryen, with houses Arryn, Baratheon, Stark, and Tully opposing House Targaryen. For the better part of the war the Westerlands remained neutral. After the Battle of the Trident and the death of Rhaegar, however, Tywin chose the side of the rebels instead of his one-time friend, Aerys. Tywin ordered the sack of King's Landing and the killing of the Targaryen heirs to prove House Lannister's support. After being crowned king, Robert I married Cersei Lannister to bind the Lannisters to his cause. Baratheon era. The burning of the Lannister fleet at Lannisport began Greyjoy's rebellion. After the Ironborn failed in the storming of Seaguard, King Robert I Baratheon invaded the Iron Islands along with his Warden of the West, Lord Tywin Lannister, and his Warden of the North, Lord Eddard Stark. A Game of Thrones. After the abduction of Tyrion Lannister by Catelyn Stark at the Crossroads, Lord Tywin Lannister sends Ser Gregor Clegane to raid the Riverlands and then retreat back to the Westerlands. After the death of King Robert I Baratheon, Tywin and Ser Jaime Lannister lead armies of 20,000, 14 or 15,000 strong, respectively, into the Riverlands. Jaime crushes the Rivermen in a battle in the hills below the Golden Tooth and a battle under the walls of Riverrun, but Ser Mark Piper and Lord Carol Vance raid lands west of the Red Fork. Jaime is eventually captured at the battle in the Whispering Wood and his army is dispersed in the Battle of the Camps. Tywin sends hundreds of cavalry, including Gregor and Ser Amory Lorch, to set the Riverlands ablaze. In response to the actions of the Westermen and King Joffrey I Baratheon, the Rivermen proclaim Robb Stark to be king at Riverrun. A clash of kings. With Tywin secure at Harrenhal, Ser Stafford Lannister begins raising a new host of some thousands in the Westerlands. Having sent Theon Greyjoy to negotiate with Lord Balon Greyjoy and Catelyn Stark to negotiate with Renly Baratheon, Robb leads forces from the north and House Frey in an invasion of the west. Robb hopes that Balon's Iron Fleet will join him in attacking the Westerlands, while Renly deals with Tywin. Theon desires to claim the west for himself. After bypassing the Golden Tooth, Robb wins a crushing victory over Stafford's inexperienced host in the Battle of Oxcross. They then pillage the eastern and northern areas of the Westerlands, raiding the coast and capturing Ashmark, the Crag, and the gold mines at Castamere, Nuns Deep, and the Pendrick Hills. Balon's Ironborn refuse to attack the west, however, instead attacking the largely defenseless north. Tywin is stopped at the Red Fork during the Battle of the Fords, after which he and the Tyrells defeat Stannis Baratheon in the Battle of the Blackwater. A storm of swords. Since Robb marries Jane Westerling, the Freys at the Crag leave Robb's service. After the Blackwater, Robb abandons the captured castles in the Westerlands and returns to Riverrun. Robb claims to Ser Edmure Tully that he and Ser Brynden Tully had planned to ambush Tywin on the Gold Road or trap him in the west, but were prevented from doing so by Edmure's defeat of Tywin in the Battle of the Fords. Ser Davin Lannister reforms the remnants of his father Stafford's host at Lannisport, and they join Ser Forley Prester at the Golden Tooth. Lord Tywin is murdered by his son, Tyrion Lannister, in the Tower of the Hand. A feast for crows. Queen Cersei Lannister, the Lady of Casterly Rock, succeeds Tywin as the Liege Lord of the Westerlands. The Lords of the West lead a procession of hundreds of soldiers which accompanies Tywin's corpse on its return to the Rock from King's Landing. 2,000 Westermen participate in the Siege of Dragonstone. When King Euron and Lord Captain Victarion Greyjoy set out to attack mainland Westeros after Balon's death, the Westerlands escapes their wrath, as the Iron Fleet sails past and attacks the Shield Islands and the Reach instead. Jaime joins Davin, the new Warden of the West, and other Westermen at the Siege of Riverrun. Forley commands the escort of Edmure and Jane as they travel from Riverrun to the west. A Dance with Dragons. After killing Tywin, Tyrion flees to Essos. Because his speech would identify him as a highborn Westerman, Tyrion poses as a Lannisport bastard, Huger Hill. In the books. In the A Song of Ice and Fire novels, the Westerlands consist of a landscape of hills and valleys stretching from the well-watered riverlands in the east to the sea in the north and west and to the fertile plains of the Reach to the south. If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.